Hello, class. Joshua Perkins here. And this, we're going to talk about the Pegasus Fan Duct construction project. So first off, what is the Pegasus? Well, this is my dream in 1984. It's a fully functional Pegasus in all its radiant glory, and that's how I pictured myself as a 8-year-old kid sitting on top of my wonderful hovercraft impressing the neighbors. So I came out of a Popular Mechanics magazine. Uh, I got it every month. Love that magazine. Actually ordered the blueprints and the instructions in hopes that my father would help me with it. And I've held on to those blueprints and instructions for 37 years. And that is exactly what I'm using right now to build this hovercraft for my kids. So, but I got some insight from my father. An important thing, I called him complaining really about how do I build this? How do I make this happen? This isn't working right. I can't make this whatever. And I said, how do I do it? And he said, I don't know. If I'd known, I'd have built it with you. That's why I read the instructions and put it back up and never read them again, because I wasn't going to build that. I knew I didn't have the skills to do it. So I did get that valuable piece of insight working on this project. So that was my dream, and here's my kid living his dream in 2021. Playing his Switch, headphones on. I want us outside. I want us learning something, and this project will actually teach them and help them get outside, teach them some valuable information. So first off, we're going to start off with the charter here. The charter states a few things that I want to point out. Stakeholders: Joshua Perkins, obviously me, my girlfriend Jennifer Perry, my son Solon, my son Dylan, and Jennifer's son Reagan. I think these are all people that are very important to this project. And in the problem statement, it's not just about me being a child. This is my childhood dream. I want to finish this, and I want to finish the fan duct part of it because it's the hard step, right? But also, my children lack the necessary construction skills, and that could hinder them throughout their lives. I mean, one day they're going to have kids too, and I want to be able to get them to where they could do a project like this with their kids, or something like it. So, in scope for this project, I also want to point that out. That's in the green box there. In scope is purchasing the tools, learning to use all of the things, the foamular, the rigid urethane foam, learn how to do that, learn how to do fiberglass, which I've never done before. And then, building the actual fan duct. Now, the out of scope would be putting the engine in it. I don't want to, maybe I can do some research on the engine, but not necessarily build the frame, put the engine on it. That's going to be out of scope and way too much for this project. The WBS, the work breakdown structure. I just put one page of this in here because it's a lot of pages, but I did want to push that it's a great way for me to open up the entire project. I realized in doing the work breakdown structure that there are 5 main steps, and inside each step have many, 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 many steps inside there. But that it really made it clear to me how I was supposed to do this, and it made it really nice later when I transitioned into some of the other pieces of project management. So cause and effect diagram, putting this out there, the cause and effect diagram, things that bothered me a little bit about it: measurements versus processes. I wanted to point this out because I use the people, the materials, the equipment, the environment, process, and measurements. But those 2 categories, measurements and processes, really kind of bothered me. It took me a little while to figure it out, and then I realized it was off the instruction manual. So in measurements and in processes, the instruction manual is part of it, but in processes, it's a process. I have to use this instruction manual. But under measurements, I actually have to review the diameters, review the actual measurements, and that is why it's in there twice. And that actually made it clear to me. A couple other things: outside weather for ventilated work. This actually came off the FMEA. This was an important thing to add in here, and we'll get to why here in a few minutes. But those 2 things, the FMEA and the CED, worked really well together. Another thing I want to point out: garage workspace cleanliness and school and work schedules. These 2 things, school and work schedules, have played a major role in whether I was actually going to get this project done or not, because my kids have things to do, I have things to do, we got to coordinate, we got football, we got baseball, we got all this other stuff. So and then tripping over things in the garage was an annoyance at best. This is my garage. You can actually notice at the top there, the power cord hanging from the ceiling. That was an addition that I did after getting angry about the stuff being everywhere and me never being able to find power, and all the wood stacked underneath, along with the foamular there. Same kind of thing. I was tripping over it. So the garage is still a wreck, but at least I can move around the hovercraft without dying, and I can find power. So this is what I was talking about. This is the failure mode and effects analysis where I found out that, my lungs could be damaged by low ventilation. So this was actually thinking through the steps and saying, hey, you've got to put fiberglass on this. If you're doing it in the garage, your lungs can be damaged. So now I have to go outside, and that's what added me to that environment. Has to be taken into consideration of outside temperature and moving outside of the garage. So what I did not include also made a huge difference, and that is foamular is not rigid urethane. All the instructions say use rigid urethane. Finding rigid urethane proved to be a major problem, so I had to use foamular. And what eats foamular? That's something very important to know. Well, everything eats foamular. The styrofoam cup I use, you can see it in the picture there. That styrofoam cup is actually the fiberglass mix ate through the bottom of that and then ate into the foamular itself. They actually merge together. And then I thought, well, maybe if I put a barrier, so I put a little spray paint on there. Spray paint ate the foamular. The fiberglass, the glue ate the foamular. The anger I felt ate some of the foamular. And so really mistakes were made here at this part. But what should have had back in the charter and then the work breakdown structure, there should have been a testing stage. I should have had a test part so that these things, that I knew what kind of glue and I knew what would fiberglass do to the foam that I had chosen to use. And honestly, it does it to every foam. It's just going to eat this foam unless it's true rigid urethane. So, but there were some positives to working with it. This is Jennifer and I. She's gracefully holding that while I try to glue it to the wood fan shroud. So it did work eventually, and I did find the right stuff and the proper glue. This is the Gantt chart. Project Libre is what I used. And I tried this program. User error and a steep learning curve has really it took its toll on this part of it, but I enjoy this. It was just the learning curve was a little steep for the timeline we have on this project. So, but it was still useful, and I've checked off a lot of the parts. You can see the green check marks down the side, but you can also look at this red circle and know that I am a month behind schedule. So that's not the greatest. Fan duct, the Kanban for the fan duct construction was my favorite tool of all. So this, I'm going to continue to use this on all kinds of different processes. Any project I'm working on, this is the tool for me. In the doing, I've got step 3, create the foam file, and then I've got all the other steps there in green of that step, the sub steps, if you will. And then there's me actually creating the foam. So you can see that has actually been done, but step 3 was not finished. So in there, I've got to take circular blanks and I've got to take pics of it. And there's the circular blank and me taking the picture of it, obviously. So, but also you can see in there, there's a staple gun. I had to buy that. That would have been another add-on for the CED, under equipment. I need to add that in there. So under the to-do file here, you'll notice that I've got green color ink. And underneath that in the to-do, you've got fiberglass cloth and mat layups and fiberglass body filler. That's step 4 and 5, but they're collapsed right now, whereas step 3 is expanded out and I'm moving across it. This is in the done position here. I just wanted to point out a couple things. One, I'm moving a lot of those things over to done, but the create, the step 3 is still right there in the doing. And also step 1 and 2. Step 2 was to cut that engine opening, and step 1 was all the prep work, but they're in blue. They're on a different type of sticky note, and they're collapsed back in together. And there, just so you can see, it is the step 2 engine opening. That's a perfect circle cut with my new tool, the router. So here we go. I've got step 4 about ready to be expanded. 1 step left in progress. Once that's moved over, I'm going to collapse all those sticky notes down, change it over to a blue ink, and put step 3 in the collapse file and expand out step 4. Start making it look good. So was it a successful project? And this is where, was it a successful project? Well, I haven't finished it yet. So I've fallen that month behind schedule. Even with the tracking tools, I've still fallen behind. But there's my son Solon enjoying himself. And that was creating that perfect circle that we did. So we learned how to use a router. We learned how to make a perfect circle. That's Dylan with the jigsaw, manning the jigsaw on this project. So he's actually been out there enjoying it. And all the kids were out there. They've been helping me. So I think that part of the project is actually a win. But we're not quite done yet. But we've won on getting the kids outside and participating. So let's talk about finishing up real quick. So I'm really down to just the final few steps of this. We're down to putting fiberglass on it. And this next weekend coming up here, April 23rd through May 2nd, we should be done with this part of the project and hopefully moving on to the next step where I will continue to use these things. I'm hopeful. I may, like this gentleman, end up with a few more gray hairs from doing it, but hopefully I'll be out there in my garage admiring the smooth cut of my Pegasus Hovercraft very soon. So I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a great day.